Welcome back, guys, and we're going to be looking at the nurse today and what I recommend on her based on your skill level. Now, this is the build I personally run on the nurse, bar the add-ons. I don't run any add-ons. I just wanted to put it up there to be able to show you guys and talk about it a little later in the video. I find this a very strong build for a person struggling as nurse, but obviously you could trade out Discordings for Ruin depending on how much you are struggling. Now, I used to be really good at the nurse, in my personal opinion. I'm not going to say I was the best. I was decent. I could hold my own. However, recent changes to the nurse, I feel like my skill level in the nurse has dwindled quite a bit. If I'm going to talk about these changes real quick, the nurse used to be able to blink twice as many times as she wanted. Now she has a charge bar. Once she blinks once and blinks twice, the charge bar will start and have to build all the way up, much like the Order of the Evil Within, except it builds up a lot quicker. You'll be able to see it go down in the bottom left-hand corner. You won't be able to double blink until, if you for whatever reason are recharging a blink and then you go for your first blink, it'll use your first blink and whatever you charged up for one blink. Therefore, you need to wait the entire time for the two blinks, or alternatively, you just go for the one blink, etc. So you'll notice a lot of nurses using one blink around the board, then they find somebody, then they double blink hit them, then they wait, they go for one big blink. If the blink wasn't right, they wait. Blink was right, then they go for a quick blink and one. That's generally how most nurses would play. That being said, the nurse's biggest weakness is still Iron Will and Line of Sight, so you can still use those to your advantage against her, especially on indoor maps. Now, looking at the add-on I have selected, this is what people thought would be a really good idea for training as a nurse. It used to be a purple add-on. It is now a brown add-on. I do not agree with this no matter how good you are at a nurse. If you're the best nurse in the world, the worst nurse in the world, you're playing on console, you're playing on the iPhone. Yep. The iPhone. I still do not recommend the Played Flail, right? What does this allow you to do? While you are charging a blink, you can see where the blink is going to be, but it moves very fast and it's hard to understand. And you're too busy focusing on where it's going to say, not focusing on the survivor doing a sidestep, etc. And it's just going to be awful for you. So I'm going to take that right off right there. I do not recommend that to somebody who is new playing nurse. Let's talk about the nurse real quick. She has pretty much 3 animations. The nurse will be walking with her hand open. When the nurse is charging a blink, her hand will close a little bit, and then when the blink is fully charged, it'll be a fist. That's basically the nurse's ability. And the time it takes it to go from a little closed to fully closed is about 2.5 seconds, okay? Depending on when you release your blink, by releasing the M2 button from the mouse, depending when you release it, will be how far you go as the nurse and your distance. You can generally get a pretty good understanding of, while you are blinking, turn your camera, because you can do that. Turning your camera won't affect your movement path, you will still always move. Therefore, turn your camera and realign for your second blink. If you think you're going to over blink, if you think you're going to under blink, don't bother turning your camera. If you blink and he turns to your right, turn your camera while blinking, etc. It'll save a lot of time and you still have that incredible lunge when you come out of the blink animation. Now, a couple of things to note about the nurse. She can still blink through Survivor's Only Defense. Even though I told you I'm not the best as her, I still know and understand she is the best killer in Dead by Daylight. She took a little bit of a kick when they gave her a nerf, but at the same time, she's still very strong and she's the queen of the game, followed by the Spirit and then the Billy, in my personal opinion. Even with add-ons, she can be devastating, but without add-ons, she can be ruthless as well. Now, there are a lot of good choices for add-ons. A lot of people think range add-ons are the best add-ons for her. However, you've got things like considerably increase the blink recharge speed, which I personally think is the best options. So if you were struggling with nurse, you want to look at things like this that are going to allow you to recharge your blink quicker. Now, I still lean away from not using any add-ons because I'm a firm believer in no add-ons will make me a better killer. Therefore, I don't really touch them unless I'm about to hit Prestige 3 or I'm about to Prestige, but we generally stay away from using them and collect them. So moving on down to the build, if I was going to quickly put this up here for later in the video, let me just quickly look. There you go. We've got double. Even though it doesn't say it stacks, I can let you know it stacks right now. You could go one range and one blink. I personally, honestly think double recharge speed is the best to allow you to go back to how the nurse used to be with your double blinks. All right, let's have a little bit of a look at the build. There is no Ruin, there's no Devour Hope, there's no Haunted Ground, there's no Corrupt Intervention, there's nothing to stall the game based on the fact the killer can destroy any form of defense a survivor has. The only form of defense is either jumping in a locker while she's lunging or line of sight. They're the only ways you can really do anything against a decent nurse. That being said, I like Discordance because it allows me to know where to go to get maximum Pop Goes the Weasel value and rotate throughout the board. You'll notice in almost all my videos, if you have watched them when I'm giving an educational tutorial guide like this, whenever I don't have Ruin, I always recommend Corrupt Intervention. There is one exception on the killer and you are looking at it. The other one is the demo, but that's a very special tailored build to that, but we're not going to talk about that in the nurse video. So you'll notice I got Discordance for the situational awareness, knowing where multiple targets are. Therefore, if I'm chasing Jeffrey, Nia's on the hook and Discordance activates, I now know blink one more time, hit Jeffrey, I didn't, then go over and get my Pop Goes the Weasel where the multiple targets are. It just gives me good information, good situational awareness without having to look, having to hunt. Barbecue and Chili will give me the information to be able to go for a blink if somebody is just out of range. I can go double blink and get there. I forgot to mention the movement distance of the nurse when she has her fully hand closed is about 18 meters, so she can go pretty decently far while she goes for maximum range blink, so you can close the gap between Barbecue and Chili pretty damn quick and efficiently. And if you blink 30 meters or so, you can, 10 meters in front of you, somebody shouldn't be able to outplay you there unless they urban evade and have a lot of stuff to maneuver around. You should be able to find them. Keep in mind the nurse's base movement speed is 96%. She's the only killer in Dead by Daylight that moves slower than a survivor, but you can run purple add-ons, so you can add add-ons up here, which are going to increase her base movement speed, but give her a punishment of losing one blink. Still, I'm going to tell you the best map offering is the game for the nurse if you have a high skill gap. If you do not have a high skill gap, I wouldn't recommend this. If I was forcing myself to go to the game, I would get rid of I'm All Ears and I'd put on Infectious Fright. 100%, it'd be very, very good. She could be an absolute snowball in there. Any map that is open where you can see survivors, much like on the Huntress, would be very good for her. I wouldn't have an issue playing on the Asylum, but I'd also say if you didn't want to go to the game, the best option for you would be Autohaven Wreckers. You really want to stay away from the following maps. You want to stay away from Hawkins. It is very, very bad for you as a nurse, and you want to stay away from the Shattered Glasses. There are other options which aren't great for you, like the Mountain. You get stuck on a lot of shit, but those two are very, very bad for you. Macmillan's not bad. I honestly would recommend the Key instead of everything else, the Azeroth's Key. But moving on to the rest of the build, Pop Goes the Weasel is what's going to allow me to stay in the game for a longer period of time. It's going to give me the regression and stability throughout the entire board based on where Ruin does not. However, there's no Ruin on the build. Therefore, this build relies 0% on luck and 100% on skill-based performance. Therefore, as you can see, there's no Ruin, there's no Devour Hope, there's no Haunted Ground, there's no I hope they break my totem, I hope they don't break my totem. There's no Corrupt Intervention either. There's no, I hope I can get a lot of pressure out in the first minute and 20 seconds. Etc, etc. Barbecue and Chili will give me the situational awareness. If I find too many people are going in and out of lockers against my nurse with Barbecue and Chili, I would substitute it for the better version of Barbecue, which is known as Thrilling Tremor. If you want to know why Thrilling Tremor is better, it seals all jennies that people are not working on for 16 seconds. There is no counter to it. You think you're going to counter it by getting in a locker or getting off a jenny, you're being stalled for 16 seconds, so there you go. You're not really countering it. You're getting penalties and punishment unless you ran straight over and broke a totem, but then you're still wasting time, so you're still getting punished for it. It's going to always tell you when there's multiple top people on different jennies, because when you pick somebody up, you're going to see however many jennies are not glowing white, people are on. Surge Surveillance works really well on the nurse as well. Based on your build, you can go Surge Surveillance, Thrilling Tremor, and Ruin. I recommend that build on other killers, though. That is more of a... I'm actually going to say that's more of a Trapper build. Surge and Surveillance is very devastating on him if you play it correctly, and so is Thrill to give more stalls to allow you more prep. However, we're not here to talk about Trapper. Moving on to my final perk. Now, this is where you can become... A really, really, really good nurse won't need it. I feel like I never used to need it. If I was running the add-ons I have on display right now, I wouldn't run it, but based on normal performance without add-ons, I'm finding I'm All Ears is the best at training me as nurse. When a survivor performs a rushed animation, vaulting a window, vaulting over a pulled down pallet, jumping in and out of a locker, they will glow bright pink for 6 seconds. I will see them through the wall. I'll be able to know exactly how far and how quickly to blink to them. It is devastating on the nurse. It's also good on the Demogorgon if you play it right. In fact, you want to know, it's good on almost every killer if you can wait out of line of sight, look at them through the wall without them having a look at your red light stain. You'll see a lot of people leave certain jungle gyms. It can be a devastating perk, very unsuspecting. They have no information when you have I'm All Ears. They don't know you have it. They might think you have the biggest brain in the world, but you can actually see them through walls. 6 seconds is a long time. 40 seconds CDR is not a long time. So it can be very, very good for a training as nurse. Other honorable mentions for the nurse. Agitation, obviously, to get people to the hook, to get your barbecue stack quicker, to get your pop stack quicker, to get you across the board quicker, to speed up the game in your favor. You don't need brutal, you don't need enduring, anything like that, because you can blink over and through a survivor's defense. So we're also looking at infectious fright. If you wanted to, you could run knockout, but then again, that can turn around and bite you in the butt. Infectious is always cute on the nurse. I used to recommend it before she got this little bit of a rework. If you were struggling, you can obviously replace Discordance with Ruin, or if you think you're better than that, you can run Corrupted Intervention if you want to rely on a little bit more of a skill-based luck kind of a statistic. Ruin doesn't always last. I'm not going to recommend things like Noed for her, because you should be able to close out the game for the vast majority of games before exit gates are powered, unless you've got a really awful map or really good survivors that are split pressuring on multiple Jennies, which is actually more common than you think. Thanophobia is not going to give you the value you need. You need to hit everyone and then keep the pressure applied. You could run Sloppy Butcher, wouldn't be bad. A thing I've been seeing a lot of people run on Nurse and Spirit to counter their only real weakness, which is line of sight, would obviously be Strider. It is a Spirit teachable. You could chuck on Strider. If you hit a guy and he goes through the window, you can kind of tell how he's going to move based on the loud notification through Strider, and it counters Iron Will completely as well. Therefore, you're removing their perk to enhance yourself. So it can be very decent, don't get me wrong. I personally would rather I'm all ears over Strider, because if he fast folds, then I'm going to guarantee and get the hit. If he's already injured, we can play off that too. We'll find out also if he has Dead Hard on the play. So guys, I do think this is my personal favorite rank 1 build for Nurse. I have pretty decent success on it. I don't use add-ons, but if we're going to show you guys what the add-ons are, yet again, we're going to be showing you their blink considerably and moderately, which do stack together as well. One quick thing here, guys, going to chuck on the key, like I can show you guys. Very good map for her. You can see most of your blinks, so you don't have to anticipate movement patterns. On a map like this, I would probably get rid of them all ears. For something else, I'd get rid of Barbecue and Chili for Thrilling Tremor, because I'm not going to need Barbecue on a map like this where I can see in the open. I can just turn my camera after a big blink, and then I can substitute this with something like Corrupt Intervention if I felt like I needed it, or even Infectious Fright, etc. So there's a lot of plays I could do. If I was playing the offering, my build would tailor towards the offering, but we normally go in without add-ons and without offerings, because we believe it'll make us a better killer in the long run. Alrighty guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial on how to play Nurse, don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button. Subscribing here on YouTube is free.